to episode 72, part 3 of Kenya's premier sports video podcast, the 3 Quarters Podcast. As usual, we'd like to remind you to jump onto the hashtag Road to Japan to support the Kenya Simbas as they are still looking to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in 2019 in Japan. I'm Tanima Duffield.
And I'm Ngaro Kamuya.
So every other sport apart from rugby.
Yeah.
So you start off with the World Cup, not the Rugby World Cup. Football.
Yeah.
And there are a few squads that have been announced.
That have been announced.
Yeah. What do you think in terms of strong ones, weak ones?
Actually, I think
they look.
I think everyone has announced the squads now for the World Cup, and it's that time of the year. It's that time 4 years. Every 4 years when the World Cup happens, there's not too much vibe around this one. Of course, I guess it's because of Russia.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a World Cup, and it's the most prestigious tournament. I think it's the most watched tournament in the world, even before the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So the World Cup that's going to be happening later on in the year in Russia. A couple of squads, as I've said, have been chosen, but the ones that stick out for me, I think, are the contenders. The guys who I have supported for 18 years now. France. My number one team is France. France have chosen their team, and notable guys who are missing is, of course, Anthony Martial and Alexandra Lacazette. But it's still a very solid team with Ousmane Dembele and Olivier Giroud. Of course, their number one person is going to be Antoine Griezmann of Atletico Madrid. So yeah, France have a very decent squad that has been chosen with the Paul Pogbas and everyone. Germany. It's funny that the two people who combined to score the goal that won them the last World Cup, the 2014 World Cup, are both missing from this squad, Mario Götze and Andre Schürrle. But it's still a very good team, a blend of, and like I was telling guys, Germany have been building this team for the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. The core of this team debuted at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the Mesut Ozils, Sami Khedira, Boateng. So it's still a very solid squad. Mm-hmm. Thomas Müller, I was trying to remember, and I think you can't write them off. You cannot write them off. So they're looking to be the first country to defend the World Cup. It's going to be interesting, but let's see how that goes. Yep. Brazil have also chosen a very solid squad, led by Neymar. Mm-hmm. Kawaida guys, Fernandinho, Paulinho, Roberto Firmino of Liverpool, Felipe Coutinho of Barcelona is there. So Brazil are also going to be a formidable team. Spain is my other team. I always have two teams. It's France and Spain for me. Spain is my other team. It's looking very good. It's looking very solid. So yeah, it's definitely going to be, from a football standpoint, it's going to be an interesting World Cup. Mm-hmm. And we do note and we do promise to keep our viewers up to date with what's happening in the football world with regard to the World Cup, and just to show you that we know other things, not just rugby. Yeah.
So still on football.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
So he renewed his contract with Man City for another 2 years.
Yeah.
He still had a year left, so now he's on for 3 years.
Yes.
And this would make him now the highest paid manager in English football.
Yeah, deservedly so. Sorry, Pep Guardiola came to English football at the beginning of the 2016-2017 season. I said then that it was going to be tough for him. It wasn't going to be easy for him. Mm-hmm. But the good thing about Pep is that he's a student of the game. And like I've said before, I really like coaches who believe in a philosophy. And Pep does that. And you can see what he's been able to do at Manchester City. So they're now the 2017-2018 champions, and it's deserved. I think it's right for Manchester City to extend Pep's contract by another 2 years. Sorry. So yeah, we're going to be seeing him for a minute in the Premier League, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still on football.
Yeah.
Got a lot of football today. Anyway,
Yep.
So we talk about Arsenal.
Yeah.
And talks intensify on Mikel Arteta being the coach, and then all that's like it sort of seems like it's a given, and the only thing left is who he'll have in his coaching,
back room.
Yeah.
It's very, Arsenal fans are very disappointed, but I'm not shocked. Like I told guys, and I said it here, Stan Kroenke's financial policies are not about to change, and as a result of that, I can see why he's settling on Mikel Arteta, because Mikel Arteta is going to. Is going to keep the squad lean and is going to work with whatever he can work with. And but come on, guys, like we're not clearly Arsenal are not thinking of winning anything with him on board. Look, positive is that he's just won the league as an assistant coach to Pep Guardiola.
Yeah,
he might be able to bring something to us, but look, I don't think it was the right move.
Well, we'll wait and see how it goes.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Now,
Still on football.
Still on football.
Yeah.
Gina Luigi, oh man, that name.
Yeah.
Buffon
Yeah.
has announced that he will be leaving Juventus at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So it's all about people who are leaving, people who are coming in.
Yeah, people-
Like, can we just settle?
Gina Luigi Buffon, at one point he was the most expensive goalkeeper in football. But there's one thing I like about Buffon, and there's one thing I like about Buffon's group of players. He's been very loyal to Juventus. When Juventus were demoted in 2006, he went down with them, and he came back up. And that was for somebody who had just won the World Cup with Italy.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I feel very sad for him. He's been unable to win the Champions League. Last year, he had a chance last season, but he was hammered 4-1 by Real Madrid. But Buffon, he's been a great servant of the game, and we can only wish him the best wherever he goes after Juventus.
Yeah. So, finally, basketball.
Yeah.
NBA conference finals.
Yeah. So as we speak right now, in the East, they've played 3 games. Celtics are leading 2-1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's okay. You can tell it's because they were playing at the TD Gardens. They had home court advantage. That's why they were able to beat LeBron James-led Cavaliers. But look, let's not take it away from them. They have put in the work, and it's the fashion in which they built the Cavs. Both games were blowouts, and you can only admire what Celtics are doing. I think if they get to the finals, they're going to be beaten by whoever comes from the West. But it started a new conversation about of course, when you always get to this point of the season, there's a debate about LeBron James and Michael Jordan, who's the greatest of all time. If LeBron loses this one, I think he can forget about that comparison ever. But how do I think it's going to pan out? They're now back in Cleveland. I just think if LeBron will always have his numbers, he'll always put up his numbers. The problem is always his support.
Yeah.
His supporting cast. If Kevin Love, if George Hill, if everyone around him does what they're supposed to do, then I think Cavs are going to beat Celtics. In the West, it's very entertaining. It's now 1-1 as we speak. Blowout in the first game, Golden State Warriors beating Houston Rockets. Second game, Houston Rockets matching the intensity, which I think was the biggest issue. I don't think it was more to do with their plays. It was more about them matching Golden State's intensity, which they did in the second game, and they were able to beat Golden State Warriors. So it's definitely an interesting matchup, that one. And I just think that whoever comes out of the West is the one who's going to win the championship this year. But for NBA fans, NBA is happening, and just wake up in the morning. It's not too bad.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
You won't die.
You won't die. Just wake up in the morning to watch the games. Yeah.
So we move on to our bonus segment, and we're back home. And back to football.
Yes.
So Hull City.
Yeah.
Came over. Flew. All right, so they played against Gorma here at the Kasarani Stadium.
Yeah.
And at the end of normal time, it was 0-0, and then we being Gorma here, because we are Kenyan, lost 4-3.
Yeah.
So what are our takeaways, from that game, apart from the fact that obviously people really turned up to watch?
Yeah.
When we're supporting Kenya, I mean, whether it's athletics or football, we tend to show up in numbers.
Yes.
So of course, there were a lot of people there, very patriotic. But what are our takeaways from that game?
I mean, the first thing, of course, as you said, is patriotism. It was very impressive to see the number of people who were at Kasarani watching that game. But for me, I like to focus on I'm not being negative, but I'm saying I'd like to focus on the negatives and the things I think that we should improve. Number one, they said that 3 million shillings was collected or slightly over 3 million shillings was collected in gate charges. My gut tells me that some guys who made money.
Maybe a little more.
From the gate charges. There's something that doesn't add up about the collection or revenue collection from the gate charges. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And the most unfortunate thing is that it just came out, then people stopped talking about it. And that's what always happens when things happen in Kenya. So that's the number one thing. I also think about we are really lacking from a technical point. For Hull City to come with
and give us a run for our money
with a second string team, there's a lot of work that needs to happen in the development side or development age grade and coming up to the main team. Either that or our systems just don't work.
Yeah.
And you know what's shocking for me is that God is actually coached by a foreign coach.
Yeah.
An English guy who played for Hull, if I'm not wrong, by the way. It could be. So we are really lacking technically, and I think our guys need to work. Because I also think about last year when Sport Pesa came up with an all-star team that went to play Hull in England, and we were beaten. In this case, were like 16, 17-year-olds.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of work that needs to happen from the technical angle, and I think it just goes into us guys talking about sports being taken seriously.
Yeah.
Because I believe the talent is there. I remember having a conversation with a Brazilian guy who was very good friends with former Gor Mahia coach, and he was telling me that the former Gor Mahia coach told him that the talent in this country, can you imagine, is actually more than what they have in Brazil.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, so I think the talent is there. I just think it's the development and the structures that's what is going to be a problem. I think about it's shown, that game has shown that if sports is marketed well, then you can actually have a very big crowd locally. I do believe that the local people want to follow the games. It's just that the federations in charge have not marketed the games the way they should. And you just see how they are able to market this game, and all of a sudden a Sunday plan, and I was even the bougie ass people. I was just seeing them on Instagram. That's all they were doing. They were going to watch the Gor Mahia game. So if marketed well, I think people do have an affinity and do want to watch the local sports. But it shouldn't be. My point is that it shouldn't just be for these games. It should be for all games.
But just a quick one, like before we wrap up, one thing that I like to ask you, because I actually don't know, do we have a development team like for every team that plays, like in our EPL or whatever? Because you know how like in rugby most teams here now are forced to have a women's team. Do we have a development team for all the teams? Because that would really help.
Not really a development team. The good and bad thing about football in Kenya is that it's very large. You have very many teams playing football in Kenya. So there's a feeder system from. I remember back in the day there used to be a group, Madara Youth Sports Association, MISA, and used to feed a lot of the players to the national team. So there's a lot of that, but I don't think each and every team has their own, age grade.
Which is I think that's something that people need to think about, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
To help develop sport and, football in this case in the country.
That's true.
But guys should tell us what they think, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, remember, that's all we have time for. So yes, guys, remember you can like our page on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Tamima Duffield.
And I'm Ngaro Kamuya.
See you next week in Uganda.
Oh yeah.
For episode 73.